The XR-22 StarHawk is a paper airplane inspired by the SR-72 Darkstar shown in the Top Gun Maverick movie. Now, as you can see, this plane looks amazing as it is, but as I do, I have designed a template for this plane. So if you support me on patreon.com/foldableflight, you can print off a template and fold a plane that looks like this, rather than using a regular sheet of paper. And there are over 70 templates now available to my patrons. Now, even more importantly, this plane is designed by Evan Brus, who is a fantastic paper airplane designer who happens to have his own YouTube channel called Square Force Planes. Be sure to click that card in the top right corner and give him a new subscriber because he is working so hard to bring some amazing content not only to my channel, but to his as well. And with all of that out of the way, let's see this plane in flight, and then I'll teach you how to fold it. Tower, this is Ghost Rider requesting a flyby. Negative, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. Gosh darn it, son of a gun!
Alright, today we are going to learn how to fold the XR-22 StarHawk, and you're going to need a square sheet of paper. Any size origami paper should work alright, but if you don't have a square sheet, don't worry. If you have a letter size sheet of paper or A4, all you need to do to convert it into a square sheet is simply to fold first along the diagonal, match up these edges, and then you will have a little extra flap of paper here. You can either cut that off or fold it over and then rip it off. Either way, you should be left over with just the square sheet remaining, and that's what you need. All right, once you have your square sheet of paper, the first step here is going to be to fold it in half. So always make sure you're matching up the opposite edge there and the corners, make everything nice and even, and crease that down. And then we're going to unfold and take our corners into that center line. Now, it's always good to leave a little bit of a gap here. This design, you don't have to be too precise with that, but I like to leave just a little gap through this front part of the center line because we are going to be folding these layers in on each other in just a few steps, and so you'll want to have just a little extra space there. Next, we're going to take this edge, fold that into the center line as well. And this one, it's even a little bit more important to leave a bit of a gap. So right around there. And of course we repeat that fold on the other side. Now we're actually going to unfold our paper. And instead of folding in sort of at that 45-degree angle, we're actually going to take this front edge and now we're going to lay it alongside the crease that we just made in the last step. So right along that crease is your reference point. Fold that down and then fold it back over again. So you're going to be left with just a little flap of paper that is extending past the center line here, and we just fold it back on itself, just like so. And we'll repeat on this side, fold it into the crease that we had just made in the last step, then fold it back over, and then take that remaining flap and just back over the center line there. Now we're actually going to fold it all together, so those layers that we just folded all fall within the paper. And this is a good time just to make sure all your creases are nice and even and that these triangles in the back line up. What we're going to do next is we're going to take this wingtip right here, this point, and we're going to match it right up with this point here. So we just fold it straight over, like that. And of course repeat on the other side. Then we're going to repeat that fold. We're going to actually take this edge here and match that with this edge. So we fold over one more time. Try to make sure the back edge of your airplane here is nice and even. And do that again. So again, this crease line here is going to match with the top edge. All right, now we're going to adjust these wings just slightly. We're going to leave this corner where it is, and we're going to fold them down ever so slightly. So we're remaking this crease line. So instead of sticking up far above this back corner, we're going to actually match this corner to the wing edge. So I'll show you what that looks like. We just match it there. Just swing that paper down just a touch, and we're going to leave this corner in place. There we go. And flip it over, unfold that from the last step, and then just match the other side of your paper. Again, we are trying to keep this corner here at the front where it was from the last step, and then swing the wing down so the wing edge matches up with the back corner of the paper right there. Okay, next we're going to take the wing, this back edge here, and we're going to fold it over like so. We're going to fold right from this corner up to the front edge of the wing here, and we're actually going to make sure those wing edges match on either side of our fold. Might have to roll it down a few times to get it right down into that corner, but that looks pretty good there. Then we're going to unfold, and we're going to fold this corner, this wing tip right here, down to match right there along the edge of the wing, so that falls right along the back edge of the wing. All right, now we're going to pinch this section together, and we're actually going to open up the wing a little bit and use the fold lines from our previous step where we folded the back edge of the wing over. We're actually going to invert them inside the wing. So now we have a wing that's shaped like this instead of like this. Let's watch again on the other side. We take the wing, we fold it over from this corner and match up our wing edge like that. Crease that down, unfold, then take this corner, put it right down there, just flush along the back edge of the wing, and then we hold this fold together, open it up with our other hand, and invert the fold lines from our last step. And you can just push them all inside the wing and flatten everything down. Perfect. Now we have this crease line running across our paper from a previous step. We're going to use that corner right there where it intersects the edge. We're also going to use this back corner right here where we have a little corner right here. That is our reference point. We're going to fold the wing over on those 2 points. So right in that back corner and right up to where that crease line intersects right there. And we just have to flatten this out a little bit. That's pretty good. And you're going to want to make this nice and creased down because we're also going to reverse this fold. Basically, we want to have a lot of memory in this paper for that fold. Okay. Then we are going to fold the wing back up in the opposite direction, but also from this back corner. We're just going to move this fold line in just a touch, and I do that by just putting my finger there as a little spacer. So instead of folding all the way to that initial reference point, we're just stopping a bit short. So we're making a line that's very similar to our last fold, but just on a slight angle. And again, we're still using the back corner here, the same reference point as we were before. Now it's just falling at a slight angle off from that. And as before, I do want to reverse that fold again. Okay, let's do that on the opposite side here. So we are mirroring our actions here. Again, we're folding over from this point here where it intersects with that crease line all the way to the back corner. And then want to reverse and just reinforce that crease a few times, make sure it's all set to go. And then I actually even reverse my center fold here so I can make sure that my wings are even on both sides. So I'll redo the creases on the wing I've already done. And then on this side, I can use that as a mirror to fold my wingtip back up. Just like so. All right, now what we're gonna do is, instead of having these layers overlap like this, we're actually gonna fold them inside the wing. This is why we did those reverse creases, made sure these folds were really good and solid there in the paper. I open up the wing with my thumb here and I just push in on that fold. And the first one we made, the larger of those two lines, that's now going to go into the center of the wing. And then the next set of folds is actually going to come out. So first it indents and then it comes back out of the wing. Probably have to smooth things over a little bit after that, but you should now be looking at a wing that looks like this with just a little step in there. And we do the same on the other side here. Open it up, pop that crease down into the wing, and then pull it back out with that second set of folds. And this one can sometimes just be a little tricky to get all the folds right. So take your time. It's probably the trickiest part of this design is to get that nice and smooth and the wing behaving as it should there. There we go. All right. Now we are going to open everything up here. So we're looking at the underside of the plane, and we're going to take our nose, and from this point to this point, right where these wing lines intersect, we're just going to fold that nose over right along the center line and just make a nice crease, because we're going to need it as reference. Now we unfold it. We take one of our flaps, fold it back over the center line. You can see I just made that crease there in the paper. We're going to use that as our first reference. Next reference is this back corner, same as we did in the previous steps. We're going to take this paper and fold it from this back corner, and it might rip a little bit. That back corner is kind of fragile, so just take your time. And then it's going to go right to this crease point right here on that reference line that we just made. This fold is kind of tricky to keep flat, so just do your best, take your time, and if it's starting to warp a little bit, just give it some extra creases with your fingers. Make sure it stays nice and flat. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Fold it from that reference point in the front all the way to the back corner. Crease everything down nice and straight. And then this leftover bit down here, we're going to just fold right back over the center line so it's on the same side it started with. Next, we fold our paper together so we have our plane, and we're going to fold our wings up. And we just do this to make sure that that extra flap that we just folded is nice and tight against the bottom of the airplane. Once again, flip it over, and then just fold the wings up and reinforce that latest fold that we just made. Now we're going to actually take this flap from our last step and fold it back down. Now this is our reference point as it falls right along this bottom edge, and of course this back corner. Fold it over. Like so. And we do the same on the other side. Okay. We are almost done here. Now we're going to start to fold the nose of the airplane. So we take this section here, we make a fold right from where those wings intersect, and we follow that fold line back, You can set this angle wherever you'd like, really. It's personal preference. Where I like to put it is where this edge here, now that I'm folding it over, intersects right where that wing starts its indent, right there at that point. So that's just like the reference point that I use for it. Really doesn't matter too much, but it creates a nice swept nose. Now we're going to open up the plane and invert that down through the middle line there. So just reinforce that crease and reverse one of the sides. So now it falls through the middle. There we go. And next we are going to open it up here and lock the nose. So we have these extra flaps. You can just pull those forward and then open it up. You'll see a center crease. You can pick a side, either right or left, just move it off to one side or the other, and then keep pulling those layers apart. They should start to pull that nose back towards the center line of the airplane, and you just rest it in there, fold everything back together, and now you have some triangles here underneath the plane. Next thing to do is to fold this triangle up alongside this top edge. So right like that. If you've done your proportions like I have, this will probably intersect really well with these flaps down here. But if you set your nose at a different angle, just be aware we're not folding this flap. We're actually folding over it. Then we're actually going to pull apart the layers here and slide this triangle in between there till it reaches all the way up and locks our nose together. And we do the same thing on this side. Fold it over, then insert it back into the layers. There we go. Okay, now I'm just going to fold my wings down here because we've added a few new layers in there, and it's just good to reinforce where the center line of this airplane is and where that crease is going to fall, especially on this flap down here. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is fold our tail. So I use my finger, follow along this line. Right about here, I find that I've added a few layers of paper. There's many layers in the front, and then there's no layers of paper back after this. So this is the point I want to use as my reference. The paper is going to want to fold there. That's its preferred place. I'm going to follow that fold line all the way back down to the corner here. It even helps to fold one of your wings up so it's a hard stop there at the back corner where the wings are. Just like so. And now we unfold it and we invert it down through the center of the plane. So we just reverse that one side, flatten everything down, and fold our wings back up. There we go. Next step is the tail. We are taking from this reference point where it crosses this flap all the way back to the back corner, fold it back up again, like so. And then, just like we did in the last couple steps, we invert it back through the center of the airplane. And flatten everything down. There's our tail. And now it's starting to look like an actual jet. Let's make our keel here to lock everything together. One of the things I like to do here to help the lock is actually just to take this section right here from that tail fold and just bend it up a touch. Doesn't have to be much, just helps keep things together a little bit more. And then we take our keel, both layers here, we're going to fold them over from this intersection point with these triangle locks that we made earlier, and we're going to try to point that keel right up to the center line fold. Just like that. So where those wings come down, that's where their point falls. And then we're going to do the same on the second side of the keel here, but we're going to fold the opposite direction. So from the back here where the tail starts to peek out, and I'm looking for a point right there where I can feel the layers of paper form like a natural crease point. Right about there, you should feel a little edge. So I fold that over like so. And now the plane is being held together on both sides. The last thing we're going to do here is adjust our tail. We want a little flattened tail for some style points here. So I take the tip of my tail and I just fold it over. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm trying to keep it at the same level of the wings. So it's still a horizontal line when the plane is flying, but just fold that over and then take the very back edge and fold it again. So now it falls back up that fold to the top edge of the tail. Now we unfold everything and invert it down through the center of the paper. You're getting pretty good at this step with this design. And in the tail, you should be able to see, you can just flip that little corner of the back of your fold over right along the crease line that you had just made. So now the tail is locked together. Okay. Last thing to do here is to flare out the back of the wings a little bit. We need to make sort of an opening in the back of our wings. So I stick my finger in there and then I see some extra layers of paper. I have this little triangle here. I actually fold it over along the edge of the layer immediately above it. So along the edge of the colored side there. And then I just let it fly open. So it falls right along the edge of the paper and holds everything open. And you want to make sure that roughly the same amount of flare out is happening at the top and the bottom of your wing. So you're not giving too much lift or too much drag down underneath. Now we're going to do the same on this side. So I pull the layers apart and crease that over and just rest it right along the crease line there. Make sure everything's even on both sides. And there I have my finished plane. So this one, you hold it right down here at the keel, give it a nice flick of the wrist. If it is curving to one side or the other, the easiest way I found to adjust it is actually these little triangles down here at the bottom of the flared out section of your wing. You can actually roll them down a little bit to add a little bit of drag underneath the wing. That will pull the nose back in the direction you want it to go. But don't overdo it. Thankfully, it's an easy adjustment to reverse if you go too far. All right, that is the XR-22 StarHawk. Enjoy flying it.